Sydney. And I'd like to begin today by acknowledging that this is a respectful, peaceful, non-violent, and generally pretty harmonious gathering. Give yourselves a round of applause. Be aware, anybody here with an agenda to be a bit hostile, you're surrounded by people with cameras. We're here because we believe in community and dignity and peace. We will photograph you. Let's just get that out of the way. Alright? Because there are families here. There are senior Australians here. There's a community of people who are being attacked by the most right-wing, retrogressive government that we have ever had in this country. In the spirit of dignity and respect, I would like everyone here to acknowledge that we stand on Aboriginal land. And I want everyone to give me a couple of seconds of silence to consider what that actually means. It is my great privilege then to acknowledge the land on which we stand, to introduce Eora woman, Darlene McKenzie. Thank you. Good morning, Sydney, or should I say, good afternoon. Last time we met on my beautiful country, it was piss pouring down with rain, and yet we showed up in numbers. And again we show up in numbers. Welcome to Eora country. On the lands of the many people and many clans of the Eora Nation, I welcome you to country. And I'd also like to acknowledge my brothers and sisters out there from many other countries, from many other clans of our peoples from across this great country. Today I'd like to bring to notice some of you who may not be aware what's going on in Aboriginal affairs, and one of my great brothers, Ken Canning, will address many issues later on. But for me, this is about Aboriginal affairs here today. There has been a $534 million cutbacks in funding to Aboriginal programs, Aboriginal organisations. On the 6th of September 2013, Tony Abbott promised that there would be no cuts to education. No cuts to many things. But what did they deliver on Tuesday? Cuts. Cuts to Aboriginal affairs and programs, cuts to higher education, cuts to health, cuts to anything and everything, except for to the top end of town. What are we going to do about it? We're going to get out there and march today. So welcome to my country. Enjoy yourself. And as the MC said, it's a peaceful march. So if you've come here with another agenda other than speaking up and speaking out loud and proud, go away. Welcome.
Thanks for coming out today. I'm Kimberly. I'm one of the organisers of the marches in Sydney, along with Hannah and Sonia. Should come up. Firstly, I'd like to reassure everyone that we are not aligned with any political party. We usually organise music events and felt it was necessary to help facilitate this movement in Sydney. We're here just like you because we demand change. We'd like to thank our guest speakers, volunteer marshals, production crew, including Luke and James Hutchinson, our graphic designer Eden, Jane, Jackie, the police who are here to assist us today, and everyone who contributed in making today happen. There are costs involved with organising an event of this size, so some of our marshals have donation buckets. If you could please just contribute a coin, then we'll be covered, we'll be fine. Remember that this is a peaceful protest with young children in attendance, and if there are aggressors in the crowd, please just ignore them. If you witness any worrying behaviour, let our marshals in the fluoro vests or the police know. Above all, please respect one another, and remember we are here with a unified goal, one that can still be achieved through peaceful persistence. But things won't change with just one or two rallies. It will take time, We need to sustain our determination and remain unified in order to change this system, and we will. We each need to make a vow today that we won't stop talking, attending rallies, writing to our local MPs, and putting pressure on the powers that be until we have a government and a country that we can be proud of. This is not just a rally about the budget. These marches signify a major concern with current government policies, dissatisfaction with a stagnant two-party system, and the disturbing motivations and influence of those with money and power. We applaud you for coming out today to voice a variety of concerns so broad yet blindingly destructive and apparent that Tony Abbott, the coalition government and the opposition can no longer ignore. Australians want a progressive and honourable nation. Thank you very much. I hope everyone has a great day. I'd like to introduce back to the stage RNC Van Damme.
Hey Sydney, can we get it a bit loud, please? Can we get it a bit louder, please? It is absolutely amazing to stand up here and see the incredible diversity of people who are attending today. And I know for a fact, because I've watched the conversation on social media, how many people have come out on the streets across the country who have never been to a demonstration before. Can you give them a round of applause, please? Because people say, oh, why come out? Why hit the streets? Because every person who makes the effort to get on a bus or a train or walk or on their bike or in their cars, every person who comes here represents literally thousands more. And I'd like to acknowledge that conversation on social media of those who are some of the most victimised by this budget, by the most disgraceful attacks on the most vulnerable people of Australian society, people living with disabilities, the sick, senior Australians. They are on the internet and they're tweeting their support. They need us, and we will not let them down. We will not let down the young people of this country. We will not condemn them to 6 months of no income if they're unlucky enough to be unemployed. We will not encourage a criminal class of young people who are trying to survive. We are not going to make old age in this country a punishment. We are going to support our elders and our seniors into a comfortable old age. We are not going to foster fear. We are not going to foster division. We stand with Aboriginal Australians to protect their rights. We are not going to fall for the racist scapegoating of asylum seekers. We are Australians and we are better than that. We are not going to abandon the sick. We are not going to allow a co-payment and the attack on the principle of universal health care. We support welfare because welfare supports everyone. We are here because the Australia that we are the community of is a country of care, of support, of generosity, of welcome. We are a country of refuge. We are a country built on two communities, the dispossessed and the dispossessed and those who migrated. And to forget that is to forget, one, that we are all in this together. And we as a nation have a responsibility to a community that benefits everybody. What we have seen with this budget is the most feral attack that has ever come from a political party in government. It is disgraceful. Our speeches today will deliver the detail, but let's be very aware this is not a budget for Australia. This is a budget for a very small percentage of very rich people. This is a budget for those most privileged in corporate Australia. It is a budget
for those who fund the Liberal Party. And one of the reasons why I'm here is to communicate the message to those on the land, those in regional Australia who are being denied infrastructure like the NBN. The largest group of people on welfare benefits in this country actually vote for the National Party. So I would like everybody here to make the call very loudly. People on the land, your party has betrayed you. Regional Australia has been massively screwed by this budget. And it's time for us in the cities to show solidarity with vulnerable, isolated communities and the living hell that their own representatives are foisting upon them. Can we have a bit of chanting? I'm a bit old school. I'm aware of the fact that the media are here, and I'm aware of the fact that the Liberal Party are listening. Can we have a bit of chanting that says, bust the budget, please? Bust the budget. 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 Louder! Bust the budget. Fists in the air! Wave those flags! Wave them! Wave those signs! Let Tony Abbott know this budget will not stand with the people! Applaud yourselves! That was marvelous! Let's get on with the show. It is my great pleasure to introduce David Ritter. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Australian Pacific Chapter of Greenpeace. He's a commentator. He used to be a lawyer, and like a lot of people here, he's got a family. He's going to speak to you now. David Ritter.
People of Sydney, good morning, good afternoon. Let us acknowledge that it was just under a month ago that many people gathered and marched on Anzac Day to remember the past. But we gather and march today because we are outraged at the dishonouring of the best of our country's past, and because we are outraged at the abandonment of our country's future. My friends, let me tell you, Greenpeace is independent from every government around the world, from every political party. We take no donations from business. We are entirely independent, but we are outraged at this government. And we are outraged at this government because we are seeing a ferocity and speed of attacks on the hard-won protections for our environment. We are outraged because we are seeing a government that is prepared to consider the industrialising of our Great Barrier Reef, this unthinkable thing. We are seeing a government that would sanction the destruction of our forests for the coal mining industry. We are seeing a government that seems determined to play wrecker in the international climate talks, and a government that would abandon the climate that is the very foundation of the future prosperity for our children and for our country. So we are outraged. We are outraged. But my friends, we are outraged. But let me suggest to you that what matters is not the temper of our outrage. Ultimately, what matters is the quality of our response. We know that we are facing a government that is motivated by meanness, by vindictiveness, that is pursuing a politics of destructiveness and perhaps a politics of hatred. This is what we see. My friends, we must be better than that. We must answer the politics of meanness, of vindictiveness, with our own politics of the common good. Let us look to what unites us. It would be all too easy to make this simply about the character or absence thereof of our Prime Minister and our Treasurer. But in truth, this is not about Tony Abbott or Joe Hockey. This is about a contest between two visions of our society, of our country. And we have on the one hand a mean vision, a vision that abandons the vulnerable, a vision that would see us alone and isolated, thinking of ourselves only as individuals. A vision that sees our country as no more than a marketplace for whichever big business happens to think it can make a buck first. A vision which says our Great Barrier Reef is up for grabs. A vision which says our country is for sale. And my friends, that is not our vision. Our vision is something altogether different. Our vision looks to the best of our country's past and insists that this government will go and that we can still have the Australia that is fairer, that is finer, that is more generous, in which there are oceans full of fish and the tall trees still stand. Let me share with you what I believe this government wants. This government wants all of us to feel lonely, to feel isolated. This is how they want us to feel. They want us to feel powerless. But my friends, you are among friends, here and all around Australia. And friends, we are strong. My friends, think about what people power has accomplished in Australia's long history. It is because of the power and determination of the Australian people that the Great Barrier Reef was not drilled for oil in the 1970s. It is because of the power and determination of the Australian people that the Franklin was not dammed. It is, my friends, because of the power and determination of the Australian people just this week that up at Bentley we saw the full might of the coal seam gas industry stopped in its tracks because of the power and determination of the Australian people. And from the far north of Queensland to the south of Tasmania, the Australian people will not be silent. We will stand by our Great Barrier Reef. We will stand by land, state, forest. We will stand and we will prevail. My dear friends, when you walk away from this rally today, for which I thank you so abundantly and deeply for coming along to, I have a favour to ask you, and the favour is this. Remember that what this government wants is for us all to think that we are alone, but we are not. So when you walk away from here, remember that the political answer to the mean individualism, the extreme, out of control, individualistic approach of this government is our shared politics of the common good. And when you leave today, be involved. Join a local group. Join a club. Go to your place of worship if you have one. Join your work association if you have one. Get involved in a local campaign. Get involved in local government. Remember, they want you to think of yourselves as alone, but you are not. Together we are strong. The Australian people shall not stand for this. We shall prevail. Thank you.
David Renner from Greenpeace. And a shout out to those in the Bentley blockade who beat the friendlies this week. How awesome is this? There are 15,000 people rallying today with us on the streets of Adelaide. I didn't know there were 15,000 people in Adelaide. And they're coming. They're with us. Look at all of these people. Get out your phone. Hashtag March in May. Hashtag bust the budget. I have a request. The media would like to get you from another angle chanting. Is that okay? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had an NBN in this country? Wouldn't it be wonderful? And I'd like to acknowledge there are people from the tech community who are marching today. Can I have a round of applause, please? If you had asked me before the other government if there would ever be a militant tech community in this country, I would have laughed. But they're here, they're on the streets, they're on the keyboards, and they are organising. Because they are a community who've been screwed over. They are the people who make the machines work. Tony Abbott thinks that the internet is a video entertainment system. This is a man who's clearly never used an ATM or ever made an emergency call. Or, turned up to a job where he had to do his own typing. So can I applaud the IT community who are fighting so hard against an agenda that would strip this country of world-class digital infrastructure and would give us an internet which is on a lower quality than that currently being provided in Rwanda. Can I have a chant that says, "We want our NBN, please"? We want our NBN. 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 Malcolm Turnbull might not want to talk about it, but I, for one, am going to keep talking about it. Give yourselves a round of applause, people. It's my great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, the completely fantastic Sally McManus. She's the Secretary of the Australian Services Union. She's an absolutely wonderful person. She's the one who's been doing the website, which is called bit.ly/TonyRex, TonyWrex. She's a tireless fighter for Qantas workers and all the other people who are facing horrendous job loss in this country because of the Abbott government's abandonment of the working class. Can you tell Sally she's awesome by giving her a huge round of applause? Sally McManus!
Are we going to accept this rotten budget? Are we going to let Tony Abbott wreck our country? Are we going to get rid of this government at the earliest opportunity? Friends, we know the enemy and we know what he's prepared to do. We know Tony Abbott would have said anything and done anything to get into power. Promised anything, opposed anything, torn down anything. Not to create and not to build a better Australia, but to get his hands on the sledgehammer to start wrecking and destroying everything generations of working people have built. Everything that's made Australia a fairer, a kinder, or more equal place than the United States. Friends, I've been tracking Tony Abbott's wreckage, and in only 8 months, he's hurt Australians and wrecked the country in a shocking 226 different ways, and he's broken a staggering 27 promises. In only 8 months, nearly every every day he exposes himself to be our very own Godzilla. 27 broken promises, most of them justified on one big lie, the lie of an impending economic emergency. And these lies emanate from the man who railed day in and day out against the mining tax and the so-called carbon tax, and just one broken promise by a Prime Minister he was happy to have labelled Julia. But the mining tax and the carbon pricing were aimed at the 1%, the obscenely wealthy. Abbott's taxes and broken promises are aimed at us. Health, medical care, education, petrol. The budget is a savage attack on young Australians. It is an attack on the very future of this country, the destruction of the car industry, the destruction of 20,000 public sector jobs, the defunding of youth connections and other welfare programs, the slamming the door on educational opportunities, and the attack on our penalty rates. This is a future young people can expect under an Abbott government. A future without dignity, a future without hope, a future without opportunity, and friends, a future without a future. Tony Abbott and his government are driven by one thing, and that's to wreck everything that generations of working people have built. Medicare, the PBS, university education, the welfare safety net, the retirement age, Gonski, the NBN, and our union movement. And this is all before he starts on our rights at work, the minimum wage and penalty rates. Tony Abbott holds in contempt everything generations of working people have built, everything that represents fairness, aims for equality, or checks the power of big business. But it's Abbott's contempt for us, his contempt, that's his fatal weakness. He underestimates us, and that will be his downfall. Tony Abbott is deluded. He believes because of the cheers of the Murdoch press, the fawning admiration of Gina Reinhardt, and the unswerving support of big business, that he will get away with his disastrous agenda. Now, friends, will we let him get away with it? Not while we're standing and not on our watch. We know who you are, Tony Abbott. We know what you stand for. You're a liar, a wrecker, and a divider of our society. It's our job to stop you. Now, friends and defenders of a fairer Australia, we must do two things. We must unite and we must fight. Every single progressive movement in this country must unite to bring an end to this government. And second, we need to make sure that everyone you know understands who Abbott is and what he stands for. Find 3 people, just 3 people you know who voted for him, even if they don't admit it, at the last election. Make it your personal mission to ensure they do not do it again. Our aim is simple. Send a message to every future government, no matter who they are. Do not destroy what we have built. Not our rights at work, not our Medicare, not our schools, our TAFEs, our universities, our Great Barrier Reef, our ABC, or our humanity on Manus Island. Friends, let's aim to immortalise Tony Abbott in what he understands. Simple 3-word slogans. One term, Tony. 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 Faster! 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 And the roar, please! The big roar! And one of the most disgusting broken promises from a government that lied its way into power.
was the promise of Tony Abbott to be Prime Minister for Indigenous Australia. I think we've got an answer to that. Can you all please give a big roar to Ken Kane, Aboriginal writer and activist.
Thank you. One turn, Tony, that's one turn too many. I want to talk today about the intervention in Northern Territory, but I'll briefly speak about this budget, if you can call it that. Now, prior to the budget, Abbott had hit at marginalised groups already. It hit Aboriginal people, it hit legal services for $14 million, or $14 million, he hit legal services. He was demonising same-sex marriage couples, and he was obsessed with asylum seekers. Now this budget just carries on from where he started. He started with the marginalised group, and the budget has hit every marginalised group in this country, including our people. As we have heard today, $534 million from Aboriginal programs. We are the poorest group of people in this country, and after 226 years of occupation, we have been left with the most problems. Now, what I have to say to that is this government will and has already got blood on its hands. You strip that much money out of Aboriginal affairs, deaths will occur. That's as sure as night follows day, deaths will occur.
They can run but they can't hide.
That's right, sister, they can run but they cannot hide. And Tony, you cannot hide from facts. You cannot hide from facts. Your whole mission and your predecessor, John Howard, was to obliterate our people. Now the Northern Territory intervention was put in 2007. It was bought in fraudulently and based on lies. And we all know that now. That mysterious preacher came on, I think it was late night, yeah, I get them all mixed up with that doyen of media personalities, Tony Jones. I don't know how on earth he got on air. He exposed the story of an alleged youth worker. An alleged youth worker who'd spent allegedly 6 months in Aboriginal communities and discovered there was numerous pedophile rings running out of Northern Territory. This was a lie. Now that alleged youth worker had not spent one single night in a community, not one night. It was later to be found he was in actual fact a Howard staffer, and more to the point, the then Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Mel Brock, it was his boss. He goes on all blurred up, he exposes this story, next thing we've got Howard coming out giving an intervention order. Why does he pick something like this? Nearly every Aboriginal male in the country felt ashamed to go out on the streets. Aboriginal men in the central desert areas felt ashamed to come out of their house. Yet, several investigations later found no such thing occurred. No such thing occurred. Now, if it was about alcohol and violence, he couldn't put it on because he'd have to put it on the broader community. Also, he picked the most emotive target in the country is pedophilia. He stated pedophile rings were operating out of there. That was his reason for the Northern Territory intervention. That was effectively to silence any opposition. Anybody who hears that is immediately stunned. And it did, it worked. It worked. Rudd stood silently by, let it go through. The Gillard government extended by 10 years. Abbott hasn't even mentioned it. Now what we've had since the intervention is people have absolutely disappeared from the Northern Territory. Troops, truckloads of troops went out into the Northern Territory. People grabbed their children and took off. Some of those people have never been seen again. Now, The other thing we've got to look at here, you've got communities like Borroloola up in the Western Cape area, who are now, it's settled down in the last couple of weeks, but they've been under siege. Mining companies want that land. They want the land. They have had thugs in uniform in on a nightly basis doing what they call law and order raids, heavily armed in front of little children, flexing their muscles. Every community in the central desert area is putting up with the same thing, yet we talk about terrorism overseas. We've got Aboriginal children being traumatised and terrorised on a nightly basis. This intervention was only put in for one reason. It's the biggest land grab since 1788, and it is operating on behalf of the mining companies. Now, what do we have to follow that? $500 million taken out of Aboriginal affairs with a blink of an eye. $500 million. Do you imagine how many programs are going to lose out of that? You look at just legal services alone. We had the second highest incarceration rate in the world. We had one of the highest deaths in custody rates in the world. When we strip these fundings off, our preventative programs will go. That will mean there'll be more people incarcerated. That will mean there'll be more deaths in custody. As far as I'm concerned, this is murder at government hands. And I will not shy away from that. Abbott, if you have your media people out there, take my photo, I don't care. ASIO, if you're out there, take my photo, I don't care. This government has done enough to our people. I don't care anymore what you do. I'm willing to fight you until I'm old and grey, and our brothers and sisters will follow us. Now, what he's done with these hits, he's hit everybody large and wide. That the effect of that is he wants to fragment you, put you in different little groups, and you'll go off fighting in your own little groups. That won't work.
Well, tell the Queen to give up the crown and bring it back to Australia.
Yeah.
I know who's the Queen in Australia, that's me.
Yes. That's right. The royalty belongs in this country, not in England. Now, don't be fragmented in this fight. Don't the youth go off on their own, the old people go off their own. Fight together. But when we fight together, do not forget the First Nations people of this country. This government has shown us one thing. It is only accountable to corporate Australia. Did you know $14 billion a year goes in diesel fuel subsidies to the mining companies? Gina Reinhardt makes $1 million every 30 minutes. Now $14 billion goes to them. $500 million is stripped from us overnight. Now look at that in perspective. This just shows you they can own, that they're bought and sold by used furniture. That's all these politicians are. They're bought and sold by the corporations, and I'll call it for what it is. From an Aboriginal perspective, this is nothing more than attempted genocide by a government policy enacted by men who are simply Ku Klux Klan in silk ties. Thank you.
Counting isn't great. Because just remember, Australia, if they can do it to refugees on Manus Island, they'll do it to you. If they can do it to Aboriginal Australians in remote communities, they can do it to you. If they can do it to the young and the unemployed, they can do it to you. If they can do it to senior Australians, they can do it to you. If they can do it to people with disabilities, they can do it to you. If they can do it to working families, they can do it to you. If they can do it to students, and they will do it to students, they will do it to you. There is one fight that involves many people. It is the people of Australia versus the Abbott government. And they can't hide from the people of Australia, not anymore. They can't hide behind old newspapers. They can't hide behind spin doctors. They can't even hide the photos that get taken of them smoking cigars. They can't hide about their little pre-budget dance party. And they certainly can't hide their glasses of champagne after the most vicious budget this country has ever seen. They can't hide the lies, and they can't hide the ideas that inform the lies. And for that reason, I'd like to introduce my colleague, writer and author Annie Lowenstein, who's going to tell us some truths about those ideas. Welcome into the stage, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you today about something that hasn't been said, and that is the fact that we have a corporatised government. Not just this government, the last government, the government before that, and the government before that. This did not start in September 2013. The budget last week was a disgrace, which we'll get to in a minute, but let's not forget the issues that the Liberal government has brought in started in many ways long before the last election. They started because the Labor Party and many of its supporters in the press were happy to accept those policies. What we have now is a matter of nuance and extremism, and I'll get to that in a minute. Privatisation, outsourcing was done by Labor and the Liberal Party for years on a range of issues. Immigration, indigenous affairs, transport, education, health, childcare, defence. This did not start last week. It did not start in September last year. And Abbott and Hockey and their cigar-smoking friends in the Murdoch press, and hello if they're here, hello boys and girls. They did this because Labor, in my view and many people's view, laid the ground. They believe in the very similar values. This is not simply if the Labor Party came in tomorrow, the problems are solved. Do not forget what happened on a lot of these issues in the last 6 years. Immigration as one key example. Manus Island and Nauru was not opened by the Liberal Party. It was reopened by Labor. Let's not forget that. So what I would say to you all is do not be fooled by the sweet sounds of Bill Shorten, who spoke last week about his dedication to the working people. Really, he's dedicated to the working people while in the same week taking money from corporates to speak about his love for the working people. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Labor Party of 2014, and we should, in my view, oppose it. One of the ideologies of our age that I've written a lot about over the last years is vulture capitalism, the idea that anything is for sale, anything has a price. And let's not forget that during last week's budget coverage, many of you I'm sure listened to the ABC, how many journalists at ABC were happy to repeat the lie that there was a so-called budget emergency. It wasn't said as fact, it was simply said opposed to critics or the Labor Party. There is no budget emergency. Let's say that again. There is no budget emergency. And we can chant that if we like. There is no budget emergency. Thank you. One of the things that this government, and dare I say the last government, talk about is the wonderful examples from the US and the UK. We should follow their leads. Now, anyone who's spent any time looking at the reality in the US and the UK in terms of equality and inequality will find that's exactly the opposite of what we want. You have privatised education, privatised healthcare, privatised hospitals. Now let's look at Western Australia briefly. Western Australia is now having arguably the greatest examples of privatisation in this country. Hospitals fully are being privatised by Serco, a British multinational. That, ladies and gentlemen, is our future. Shame indeed, unless we oppose it. And latest figures from the UK, which were released last week, found that the top 1%, our favourite 1%, own as much as 55% of the population put together. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not a future that we want. Unfortunately, and I say this as a journalist myself, many in the press are not helping the situation. In fact, they see their role as furthering the problem. Let's look at, briefly, the idea of a show like Insiders on Sunday morning. What do you think that show actually is about? It's about the idea of journalists who never actually go anywhere talking to other journalists about how wonderful journalism is and commenting about the press. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the problem with our press, who report for all of us, whether it's the Murdoch Press, ABC or Fairfax. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the problem. So a revolution we need isn't just in politics, it's also in the press. I wanted to say a few brief things about immigration detention because we've heard a lot about the disgrace of what's been happening the last years over this issue, and I couldn't agree more. But let's not forget, again, this didn't start in September last year. In the last years, Howard government, Labor government, now the Abbott government again, have outsourced and privatised all immigration detention to various companies, Transfield, G4S, Serco and others. This is a bipartisan belief. The human rights abuses we're seeing in these countries, and the budget last week talked about, let's face it, giving more money to offshore detention, is a problem we have to tackle which is not coming just from the Liberal Party. This is bipartisan. And that's why the idea somehow of accepting and hoping that's going to change requires action. Some people will be aware that this year the Biennale, the wonderful arts event that occurs, there was a massive campaign by artists who were opposed to the fact that the Biennale was happy to take money from Transfield, a corporation that was supporting, funding and receiving money, our tax money, on Manus and Nauru. A $1.2 billion contract went to Transfield this year to run both those centres. And the Biennale was forced out of public pressure and otherwise to rescind that money. That, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of people power, and we should celebrate it. So what we should all do when we go home is we should check where our money is invested. We should find out if our super funds, our banks and others, is it being invested in companies like Transfield and others? And if it is, move your money. We have a democratic right to ask and demand that. And the fact is, a lot of super funds are becoming quite aware of this now, and they're getting a little bit savvier about at least revealing where their money goes. Let me conclude with this. What is required here is a movement of justice, equality and fairness. And that will not come, in my view, and many other people's view, from a Labor or Liberal Party that is happy to talk about justice, and both sides do, despite what we might think, but do not deliver it. And with that, I thank you. Thank you.
Hanging on sign. Do we have some artists here? Oh yeah, we've got artists here. We've got artists who are about to lose the $100 million of funding from one of the most impoverished arts budgets in the Western world. Australia spends less of a proportion of government spending on arts than the United States of America. It is amazing that we have been able to produce the number of international quality artists we have with a system which has been chronically underfunded for years, and now we are taking another $100 million cut. Given that artists are those with vocations, given that it takes a bit of time to establish yourselves as an artist, can we just look at the relation, please, between the attacks on welfare and the dole, specifically the dole, which has kept alive generations of Australian bands, Australian filmmakers, Australian actors, Australian writers, Australian visual artists, Australian musicians. People who have gone on to give back enormously to the community that supported them when it was tough. Because artists pay tax too, guys. And we can look at what is an ideological attack from George Brandis on free speech and expression. It is a gelding of the coming generations of those who articulate the imaginary Australia, and the Australia of creativity, and the Australia of vision, and the generation of communicators. And remember, during the Second World War, when Churchill was told to cut the arts budget to pay for the war effort, he said no. Because if we cut the arts, what are we fighting for? Shame, George Brandis. I don't even believe you like ballet. Can we have a large round of applause for our special celebrity guest, an Australian artist who brings a lot of joy to a lot of people. Thank you for joining us today for a couple of songs. Sarah Blaster!
Thank you very much. Really, I'm such a celebrity, but I'm really honoured to be here today, and it's amazing to be around so many inspired and passionate people. So I'm just going to play a couple of very quiet songs, unfortunately. I don't think you'll be able to use your drums, but you could try. I don't mind. But hopefully they'll be encouraging to you today.
Pages turning, lights are burning. You see what you could not see. It's plain as the day. The night makes you pay for what was hidden underneath. Longing to leave, but begging to feel that something will make you stay. We gotta believe that this road leads to somewhere we've never been. We won't run, we can find all that keeps us up at night. There is far to go now. Let's not waste anymore in denial. Well, I always thought you knew yourself better than anyone. The season was lost when you started listening to everyone else. We're casting this devil off, got the metal. It means to make things right. Well, I'm tired of guilt, I'm tired of being sorry. Haven't we suffered enough? We won't run, we can find all that keeps us up at night. There is far to go now. Let's not waste anymore. But oh, that our eyes will be open. 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 'Cause we won't run, we can find all It's not wasting anymore. We won't fear. We can fight all that we can bring to light. There is far to go now. It's not wasting anymore. Of our lives, 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 of our lives.
Thank you. Just going to play one more song for you. Sorry, yeah, you can try your drums again for this, but have a great day. I'm so looking forward to marching with you. Thank you.
Keep it in time, don't matter as much as the feeling. So break the rules, it'll all make sense if you mean it. Shout it out loud, travel north and south just to prove it. Speak it with your voice, you don't really have a choice but to use it. And say it over and over and over again. Say it over and over, so not to forget till you understand. Words they don't mean much without some action. They just don't hold up without compassion. Well, I shout it out loud, travel north and south just to prove it. I say it with my voice, I don't really have a choice but to use it. I say it over and over and over again. Say it over and over, so not to forget till you understand. Say it over and over, oh, keep telling me and over again. Tell me honestly, say it over and over, oh, keep telling me, so not to forget. Tell me honestly, say it over and over and over again. Say it over and over, so not to forget. Understand. It's very far away, but it's growing day by day, and it's alright. We baby, it's alright. They can tell you what to do, they won't make a fool of you. It's alright, baby, it's alright.
Bigger applause than that, that woman rocks. Okay, guys, it's digital activism time. Get out your phones. Everybody get your phones out. I know you have them. If my mother's got a phone, you've got a phone. By the way, my mum is here, my 72-year-old pensioner mum. I'm not letting Tony Abbott screw with my mum. Alright, phones out. I want you all to take a selfie. Hashtag March in May, hashtag bust the budget. Let's flood it, Sydney. Let's make the whole world know how many people were here. Because I'm standing here, I can see the signs, the crowd's going all the way back. It's a beautiful sight and I want the whole internet to know what we did today. Are you ready? Have you got your selfie done? Shall I call it? Should we all yell out 1, 2, 3, cheese? Oh yes, we should. We're a community. 1, 2, 3, cheese! Alright, get hashtagging. While I welcome to the stage an awesome Australian activist, can you give a post-hashtag round of applause to Ian Ratul, who's one of the most passionate defenders of refugee rights in this country, who has been fighting the scapegoating of refugees since it began. And he's a person who's been involved in a campaign that many thought would be unpopular because a lot of people weren't making the links. As I said, if they can do it to refugees, they will do it to you. Can you give a big round of applause for the tireless work of Ian Ratul?
Thanks very much for that, Ben. Thanks very much for so many people turning out today. And we've got a very, very strong message for Tony Abbott. We are not going to forget asylum seekers. We are not going to allow you to bury asylum seekers in the name of the rotten budget. We're here to say hands off Medicare, hands off pensioners and hands off refugees. Tony Abbott talks about the budget bottom line. He says that the budget he's introduced is about fixing the budget bottom line. But Tony Abbott has put $7.2 billion aside for offshore processing. If he wants to fix the bottom line, close Nauru, close Manus Island, close the Australian detention centres. There are billions of dollars that can go into universities, that can go into hospitals, that can go into schools. But Tony Abbott has got something like 5,000, 6,000 people still in detention. And you know, one of the tragedies is that almost half, 2,400 of those people are children in detention in Christmas Island and detention centres around Australia. That's the compassionate face of Tony Abbott. 24,000 people are in limbo in the community. And as Van said in the introduction, and we said right at the beginning, they did to refugees what they would do to pensioners and to the unemployed. And we said that many, many years ago, and that is exactly where we have got today. That Abbott thinks he got away with. He thought about treating refugees that way. Now he thinks he can take it out on the rest of them. People might remember Fiona Scott before the election, who was interviewed on I think it was on the Four Corners program, who was very keen to blame refugees for the traffic jams, to blame refugees for the queues in hospitals. Well, now we know who to blame, and it is not refugees. We stand here almost 2 months to the day since Reza Barati was brutally killed on Manus Island. We stand here 2 months to the day still waiting for justice for Reza Barati. 2 months on, And there still is no inquiry, 2 months on, no independent inquiry, 2 months on, the killers of Reza Barati still roam free on Manus Island, employed by Transfield with the approval of Tony Abbott and Scott Morrison. The bloody hands of Scott Morrison are still stained with the blood of Reza Barati, and there is much stain will not come off until Manus Island is closed. I think we've come today because the so-called democracy that we experience in Australia is fundamentally broken. We're here because we are disgusted with what the Abbott government has done in the budget, and we're disgusted with what the treatment of refugees and asylum seekers. But we're not here just to replace Tony Abbott, Bill Shorten. We have got a very, very strong message for the Labor Party. That a Labor Party which is committed to pensions and is committed to Medicare, but is not committed to closing offshore processing, is not committed to freeing the refugees, is a Labor Party that is not worth having. We need to build a movement that doesn't just look to the next election. We're not going to wait until the next election. The demands in the community now need urgent action now. We need to build that grassroots movement. Abbott wants us, he talks about stopping the boats because he doesn't want us thinking about the pensioners and the unemployed, the hospitals and the schools. But as I said, we've got a message for him. We do think about the asylum seekers. We understand that the stopping the boats has got everything to do with making a distraction and nothing to do with any fundamental threat to Australia. The threat to Australia doesn't come from asylum boats, it comes from Canberra. And we need to build a movement. Tony Abbott, there is a fundamental bedrock in Australian society which makes this country a welcoming place. And we need to build a movement that doesn't look to Parliament, but turns every classroom, every school, every suburb, every workplace into a bastion of resistance against the Abbott government and the campaign for the freedom of refugees. It's clearer than ever before, that students, pensioners, unemployed, asylum seekers, we are all in the same boat, we all have a common struggle, and we are so much stronger when we fight together. As long as we've got a situation where unions are fined for striking, as long as boats are turned around, as long as pensioners have to decide whether they're going to buy something to eat or pay the power bill, as long as unemployed people can't find a job, as long as asylum seekers remain in detention in Australia, as long as Manus Island is open, as long as Nauru is open, then the democracy that we experience is not worth the word, not worth the paper that it's written on. We have a far more profound notion of democracy than what they understand in the parliamentary galleries in the Parliament in Canberra. So we've got a message, I think, that we march today. And I'm so glad to see so many thousands of people out here again. But we march today for justice for Reza Barati. We march to bring down the Abbott government and to bring down the fences of Manus Island and Nauru. Every time we march, every time we demonstrate, brings that one more day closer. The end of Tony Abbott, the end of mandatory detention, and the end of offshore processing. My final message. Enjoy the march today. Take the message to the streets of Sydney. Take it back to you wherever you work, wherever you go to school, and wherever you live. And we march in May. We're marching again in June, on June the 21st. Come to Cronulla. We're marching on Scott Morrison to say free the refugees, Scott Morrison, free the refugees.
Yeah! Can we have a big shout out to those amazing amazing Christians who've been doing the prayer sittings at Morrison and Bishop's office too, please? Those guys are amazing. They have been facing court because they believe in a higher judgment than Scott Morrison's. Okay, bit more entertainment. Everybody up for a bit of a poem? Oh, come on, poetry's exciting. Who's up for a poem? Can I have a big roar for a poem? Come on, a furry is a writer, poet, and activist. Please welcome him to the stage.
Hello, good people. I'm sorry. I'm not here for your entertainment so much as I'm here to say something that's a little bit more meaningful than entertainment. Thank you very much for coming here. Thank you for spending the time. As a student, I speak on behalf of the students in this city. As a refugee, I speak on behalf of those stateless human beings demonized by your government. Immigrants who work hard just to make a living. I speak to you as once was an underclass citizen of this country, son to parents, living day by day, trying to stretch dollars and cents, balancing life against odds, coming from a place where, forget $7, sir, $5 was 3 days worth of lunch. Back in those times where meat pies was still only $1, right? Coming from a place where you'd give $20 saved for Mother's Day and one mum would spend it on school uniform anyway. I speak on behalf of millions of Australians who still experience these things. But in these times, this is where integrity is built. Therefore, I understand that Mr. Abbott doesn't have any because he's always come from a privileged seat. Dear not so honorable Mr. Abbott, wanted to let you know that this city, this country, is not as stupid as you may think. Your attempts to stream ignorance and apathy, to kill compassion and bring hate for the vulnerable into fashion has been noted by those who still dare to dream. We won't go down without a fight. This won't be a silent scream. Your attempts at fragmenting this society, cutting funds to the helpless, depreciating integrity, cutting funds to education, to schooling, cutting the young of this nation with hope of breeding docility has been noted by those who still dare to dream. Your policy to reinstate bigotry as an old method of creating a rift in society, it's domestic divide and rule. We are aware. Your cuts to pension, your cuts to disability services, your cuts to child support, cuts to independent media, your disregard for the environment, your election lies, your constant denials, your hypocrisy are all signs that you're leading Australia towards an autocracy. This is noted by those who still dare to dream. You wanna mine the barrier reef and you wanna cut the trees. You wanna stop the boats because they're a threat to society. You wanna cut legal services to refugees, turn these detention centers into Guantanamo. You've increased taxes. You want the sick to pay their own medical levies. This too is noted by those who still dare to dream. Dear not so honorable Mr. Abbott, sir, your existence in government is a threat to this nation, to this land, to this air, to the young, to the old, to the weak, disabled, to those left outside in the cold. Mr. Abbott, you're a threat to the whole country. You will create more homeless and you will let the sick die. You will let so many kids fall and you will make so many parents cry. Sir, dear not so honorable Mr. Abbott, sir, we recognize your tools, sir. We recognize the distance between your lifestyle and one of those who fight to put their kids through school, sir. We recognize your cruel, wicked traits of attempting this modern day return to feudalistic ways, crowning corporations and pocketing the jewels, sir. This too has been noted by those who still dare to dream. Are you aware that there's so many women and men in this city, so many of them, boat people, immigrants and refugees, carry the foundations of this economy. You see, people who have come here from a place of pain and poverty, leaving behind a land in which at least they had an identity. These people, they present you with a dichotomy as they're prepared to give their all for this country. These people carry the weight of your city on their shoulders, wear their daily smiles at early mornings, they daily bid their kids goodbye, working 2 jobs with 16-hour days, and only maybe they will make it home in time just to maybe kiss and tuck their kids into bed at night. These are the people who still dare to dream. This is your wake-up call, sir. We're radicalizing even the mainstream. Even the kids on the street are having conversations against Tony Abbott, but you wouldn't know. But you wouldn't know because your government sits so far from this society's reality. Your latest budget shows the distance between how we experience life and your privileged mentality. Don't use pay freeze to justify a single mother's pain, you heartless fuckers. Don't use your pay freeze to justify a single mother's pain, you heartless fuckers. You get paid more in a fortnight than a student gets paid in a year, you motherfuckers. You've become an offense to this country, you life-sucking heartless fuckers. You expect our human rights, you expect our human and citizen rights to trickle down somehow. But empathy is not distributed through the same mechanism as a liberal economy. Markets don't balance hearts, sir. Humanity cannot be traded. All of this has been noted by those who still dare to dream. We won't go down without a fight. This won't be a silent scream because as you're cutting our life supply, sir, just know that you're also increasing the demand for your resignation. We will not just hand you over this nation. Thank you.
Thanks, man. It doesn't end here. Today does not end here. The fight against the coalition does not end here. The fight for Australian values does not end here. If you want to support the students, 2:30 Wednesday, UTS, if you're a student, be there. If you're a senior Australian, be there. If education means anything to you, be there. If you've got the opportunity, you have the obligation. We're going to get on the road. But as we began this demonstration on Aboriginal land, we're going to finish with an acknowledgement of Aboriginal land. Jenny Munro was at the Aboriginal Tent Embassy in 1972 as a 17-year-old girl. And she is still fighting for the acknowledgement of Aboriginal Australia that the coalition would shred. And she tells you to chant, chant.
And the changes that are brought upon all of us with this budget. You need to all come together. In 1972, it was parts of this country have committed crimes against humanity for a long time. Remember the shock and awe tactics of John Howard when he called the intervention on the eve of a federal election. This is shock and awe tactics again from Abbott and Hockey. We don't need these changes to the budget. They need it to protect their wealthy backers and sponsors. I need you as Australian citizens to understand this government doesn't govern for all of us, it governs for an elite few. We are the voters. We need to be able to tell the truth in elections. Abbott told lies. He will continue to tell lies. Joe Hawke's budget is a bag full of lies. We need to build an Abbott-proof fence now. All of us, put your hands together and let's march as one and bring this government down today. Rebellion is the right of all people. We have a right to rise up against unjust laws. It's called civil disobedience. Let's see it in action. Let's see it all play our part in this civil disobedience against the Liberal government. Let's bring a system where Aboriginal law has equal rights to the white man's law in this country. Let my people go. Let us have freedom. Let us have wealth. What we're entitled to, not Gina Ryan, 120 forests. That's our money. That's our blood they spend every day. Let's get the rich lives, and let us govern for all, not govern for some. Thank you very much.
When we get to Victoria Park, there'll be a smoking ceremony up at the old side of 10 Embassy. Be there with a flag. When the smoke, sing me out. All right, everybody, we're hitting the road.